dad was forced to tie me up while my mom watched helplessly. My name is Michael Taylor, and I'm a retired police officer. I've served and kept the streets of Columbus, Ohio safe for 25 years, and I need to get something off my chest before I explode. What you don't know will hurt you. Now more than ever, life is uncertain. We just don't know what's going to happen next. But here's the thing. Not knowing is your greatest enemy right now. My father made this mistake, and to this day, I can still hear my mother crying as we were tied up, saying, "Please don't kill him." The story you're about to hear will show you what steps you need to take right now to ensure what happened to my family doesn't happen to yours. And it will also show you exactly what to do if you end up having to take someone's life in self-defense. This is not a fun scenario to imagine, but this is the reality of life. So you either know what to do or you remain ignorant. Allowing yourself to not know means you underestimate individuals who are capable of great evil, criminals to be specific. Underestimating criminals gives you a false sense of security. It allows you to bury your head in the sand. People think all the time, nothing would happen to me and my family. We're in a safe suburban neighborhood. But if you've seen what I've seen in the line of duty, the atrocities that I've seen committed, the families whom I've seen crying because their father or mother was murdered, the children who grew up having to move in between foster homes all because one man took their parents' lives, you'd realize how unprepared you really are. I learned how wrong this idea of couldn't happen to me was firsthand. And if retelling the grueling experience that made me decide to become an officer of the law can save at least a dozen Americans, I'll have done my job. You see, folks just like you don't usually think robberies or violence can ever happen to them. My father thought he had it all figured out. He thought a gun alone would provide safety. He thought a safe would protect the family heirloom jewelry. He thought that living in a quiet suburban neighborhood would mean no crime would ever happen there. If you don't know how to prevent the mistakes that my own father made, you're putting yourself, your family, and all your possessions in danger. Imagine the feeling you'd experience knowing you were absolutely helpless in protecting your family. Imagine someone forcing you to do what they wanted while they held you at gunpoint. Imagine the stress that would weigh on you knowing your most valuable possessions were taken from you all because you didn't follow a few simple precautions. I'm telling you to imagine, but this is real life. I've seen this happen many times, and I've experienced this firsthand. Here are some basic statistics you absolutely need to know in case you think a break-in could never happen to you. There are roughly 2.5 million burglaries a year. That means there is one burglary every 13 seconds. For some of you, this may come as no surprise, and you've already put conventional measures in place. But that alone is one of the worst mistakes you can make. And it's one of the 3 mistakes you'll learn about and be able to fix after watching this video. I urge you to stick around till the end, because understanding what I'm about to tell you is exactly what will help keep you safe. It'll help keep your belongings safe, and it'll help keep your family safe. By the end of this video, you'll be armed with the tools necessary to stop any home invader that is foolish enough to cross into your territory. I'm going to show you the Triple D method, which could be the difference between life and death for you. But first, you have to know this. My story is not a pretty one. In fact, it still haunts me to this day. My father hovered over my bed, shaking me awake. "Son, I need you to stay calm. Everything will be fine." I wiped the crust out of my eyes and asked him, "Daddy, what's going on?" As we made our way to the living room, the moonlight was beaming in through a massive hole in our window by the front door. I saw a large rock on the ground, surrounded by shattered glass. And right then, I felt chills go through my body. Right behind us was a man pressing a gun to the back of my dad's head. "Daddy, who is that man?" "No one, son. Just stay calm and this will be over soon." When my dad put me down, He asked me to give him my hands, and he proceeded to tie me up with a thick rope. "Daddy, what's happening? I'm scared." My father placed the rope in my mouth. I could see the tears in his eyes. Now, my father was not a scrawny, short man either. He was 6'3", 220, but he knew that he was completely helpless in this situation. I can still hear my mother crying in fear to this day. And suddenly, we heard the gun cock. My father said, "No, please don't do this. Tell me where all the valuables are, or I'm going to kill you in front of your wife and kids." He told him it was in a small safe that's in our closet. What's the combination? 24, 18, 8. The days of all our birthdays. The man smacked the pistol across my father's head, knocking him out instantly. He was supposed to be the man who could protect his family, but he lay there unconscious as this scum went to steal my mother's grandmother's ring, my grandfather's watch, and the few $100s my parents had kept in the safe. By the time the cops got there, it was too late. The man had escaped into the night. They said they knew who the man was and had been trying to catch him for years. When my father regained consciousness, he couldn't even look us in the eyes. His dignity as a man was completely gone. And this is exactly why I became a police officer. I swore that day I would catch this awful man and put him behind bars and make sure no one had to go through what my family and I experienced. Years later, I eventually saw the guy who put my family through hell again. He tried the exact same trick on a house not too far from where I lived. My partner and I arrived at the scene with the victim's house alarm blaring. The man of the house was out front. He was sitting on the curb. Initially, we thought he was the suspect, so we drew our weapons upon exiting our patrol vehicle. He had his hands raised and said, "I'd like to speak to an attorney." "Is this your house, sir?" my partner shouted. "Yes, it is. I shot a home intruder. I'd like to speak to an attorney." We holstered our weapons. I told my partner to stay with the man as I went inside. Instantly, upon entering the home, there was a man lying in a pool of blood face up. Although he had aged, I knew it was him. It was the same man who broke into my family's house 2 years ago. I tried to get statements from the family, but I could tell the father had already briefed them. Every question was met with, "I'd like to speak with an attorney." What the family was saying is exactly what you need to do if you end up having to kill someone out of fear for you or someone else's safety. Apparently, the man who ended up shooting this scumbag was a retired police officer. A few months later, once the investigation settled down, he reached out to my partner and me, thanking us for remaining calm, even though him and his family wouldn't answer any questions. He offered to take us to get some drinks and told us, "By the way, my name is Rick." That night, we traded stories back and forth over a couple of drinks. And it was then he told us why he was able to stop that man cold in his tracks that night. What's frightening is that this is just a thief. Imagine the tactics that a rapist or a murderer would use. I've seen the aftermath of these horrific crimes, and let me tell you, no one should ever have to go through something like that. Remember the statistic I told you earlier? How 2.5 million homes are broken into every year? Well, imagine what would happen if a national catastrophe were to break out. That statistic could easily multiply tenfold. So instead of one home break-in every 13 seconds, it would be one home break-in every 1.3 seconds. I hope this story has made you realize how much you don't know, and that what you don't know can hurt you. Everything that you need to know is part of an exclusive set of information that you can purchase today for a very low price. I call it the Patriot Home Defense. In it, you'll learn everything you need to know to avoid the common pitfalls that most American homeowners fall into. In Chapter 2, we delve into the mind of the common thief, the home invader rapist, and the mentality of the hungry or angry mob. Before we step into any preparation, we need you to understand the enemy, what drives them, and their weaknesses. You'll discover how a flaw in mob mentality can help drive away a hungry mob. One bullet actually drove away a gang of 16 people. In Chapter 3, you'll discover the legal implications of a home invasion, what to do and say when and if the police arrive as not to get into trouble with the law. Many people have been successfully sued by the thieves and criminals they injured or incapacitated. Going through this chapter, you'll discover the do's and don'ts of home defense. In Chapter 4, we'll discuss in great detail the DDD tactics and strategies that will form the basis of your home defense plan. These tactics have already proved their worth, and by understanding them, you'll be able to get the jump on any home invader. If nothing else, please pay very close attention here. I've even had people write in saying how they were able to customize their home defense plan based solely on this chapter. In Chapters 5 and 6, you'll discover 3 quick fixes to strengthen any structure like your doors and windows that is more effective in keeping out intruders than a solid steel door. Chapter 7 focuses on creating a safe room in case of a home invasion for the most vulnerable family members. Truth is, when defending your house, you can either focus on your loved ones or on driving away the intruders. You can't do both. But knowing that your weaker family members are safe gives you laser-like focus on defeating your enemy. This is just a small sample of what you are about to discover inside. You'll learn how to surprise intruders with makeshift alarms, tripwires, and non-lethal traps. This knowledge will turn your home into a modern-day fortress. What price can you put on that feeling of certain safety? The calm of knowing that there are impregnable layers of protection between you and a world gone mad, and the most amazing feeling of relief you see that no one is touching you or your family. I made this presentation as quickly as possible, and I finally managed to get it online. And we've managed to deliver Patriot Home Defense to over 1,000 families through the internet. I did it without charging them a single cent. Unfortunately, keeping the website up and running and sending the message across is not cheap. The only reason you are seeing this presentation right now is because we started to offer Patriot Home Defense at no cost. I crunched the numbers, and in order to keep this website alive, we need to get back $37 for every copy delivered. Now, that's a very small fee to pay to keep all of your valuables safe, to keep your family safe, to keep you safe. But not only that, having this information will help you keep your mental health. On top of all that, you'll also get survival mindset. During a crisis, many have lost their lives because they succumb to emotional stress first. This guide is dedicated to showing you all the secrets to overcoming the powerful emotions that can overcome even the most seasoned survivalists during a disaster. And here's just a taste of what you'll find inside. In Chapter 1, you'll discover the simple blueprint to coping with the emotional stress that can ruin even the most carefully put together survival plan. Simple remedies for the most crippling emotional states, isolation, anxiety, and hopelessness, and many others. This knowledge will keep you and every member of your group confident, disciplined, and steadfast, and will maximize your chances of survival. How to keep morale up and how to maintain a positive attitude. Using this information, you will easily become a true leader of the community. Bonus number 2. Access to the inner thoughts of a professional thief. You'll get the summary of a 40-minute interview with a thief that's broken into over 100 homes who's now serving 30 years in prison. When you understand the mindset of a criminal, it will make defending your home against them much easier. Bonus number 3, self-defense for women. Fact is, women are at a serious disadvantage if they end up head-to-head against a home invader. Almost all burglars, rapists, and thieves are men, so it's absolutely essential that women understand how to defend themselves in a close-up scenario. This bonus alone could mean the difference between life and death for the woman you love and care about. Now listen, I'm willing to take all the risk here. Just say maybe to the Patriot Home Defense Program. Fill out your information on the Secured Payment Processor page and go through the program and the bonuses for a full 60-day trial. And if you have any reason for being unhappy with your investment, you'll get a refund in as little as 48 hours. No questions asked. It's as simple as that, and you risk nothing. So, it's time for you to make a choice. It may be the most important one you'll ever make. And right now, there are 3 possible paths ahead of you. Path 1, you don't do anything. You put yourself and your family at risk, hoping that you're not the victim of a ferocious home invasion. Even though home insurance covers your losses, it will never make up for the psychological damage. You can ignore everything you've heard in this presentation and hope nothing like this ever happens to you. And I pray that's the case. I pray you never go through anything like what I've witnessed time and time again during crime scene investigations. Imagine hearing glass break or a door slam open downstairs in the middle of the night. You only have seconds to react, seconds that could mean life or death. What do? Do you have the answer? If you don't decide on something in the next 5 seconds, you could be a goner. Your family could suffer. What's your next move? Time is ticking, and you hear footsteps. Are you still in bed? Did you go for your gun? Tick, tock, tick, tock. Time to decide. I don't mean to scare you, but if you did nothing in the last 15 seconds, you could now be staring down the barrel of a gun, helpless, hopeless, at the mercy of the intruder. If nothing crossed your mind by now, you're horribly unprepared. You are vulnerable. So was my father. He suffered. I was terrified. Tears were flowing down my mother's face. And we were lucky we weren't harmed or scarred for life. I strongly urge you not to remain passive. Don't let the same happen to your family. I hate to ask you this, but would you be able to live with yourself knowing you had the one good solution in hand, one click away, completely risk-free? Unfortunately, this is the kind of attitude most Americans cling to. But I get it. Ignorance is bliss. Ignorance is much more comfortable than being a true man and an upstanding American citizen and taking action right now. Or you could choose to go with Path 2. Prepare and learn everything by yourself. Like I said earlier, I've spent countless nights thinking about the best ways to protect my family. But sure, if you really want to, it could be a viable option. But keep this in mind. If you don't have a plan, you plan to fail. And the consequences will most likely be brutal. Well, should you choose one of these 2 paths, I wish you the best of luck and pray that you too will make it. But if neither option sounds good to you, you probably want to hear out everything about Path 3. Get instant access to the Patriot Home Defense Program now. A risk-free, worry-free program with a treasure trove of knowledge to help you and your loved ones be safe and to turn your home into a virtual fortress. Allow yourself and your family to have the peace of mind that comes when you know you've done everything in your power to keep them safe. Just imagine, if the worst should happen, you could be the hero, not the victim. You could be the brave guardian, not the unprepared loser. A victorious survivor, not the next guy taken out of his home in a body bag. You can be one of the smart Americans who understand something amazing when they see it, who goes through the program and feel the worries and anxiety melt away. Don't be another statistic. It's your duty as a patriot to defend your home. Click the order button below now.